I let my brother think he'd inherited Dad's business until he realized I'd already bought out all the shares. The morning after Dad's funeral, I sat in the cramped office above the warehouse, staring at the legal documents spread across his old wooden desk. My brother hadn't shown up yet, which wasn't surprising since he'd spent the last decade treating our family business like his personal ATM while I did the actual work. The irony wasn't lost on me that he was probably sleeping off another hangover while I was already here at 6 in the morning, just like every other day for the past 15 years. Dad had built this company from nothing, starting with just a single delivery truck and a dream back in the 80s. I remember being 8 years old, helping him load boxes into that beat-up Ford while my brother complained about getting his clothes dirty. Even then, the difference between us was clear. I wanted to understand how everything worked, while he just wanted to know when he'd get paid for showing up. The lawyer had called yesterday, asking both of us to come in for the reading of the will. My brother had seemed confident, almost smug, when he hung up the phone. He'd always assumed that being the older son meant he'd automatically inherit everything, despite the fact that he'd barely set foot in the warehouse unless it was to ask Dad for money. I'd watched him stumble through college, change majors 3 times, and then drift from job to job, never lasting more than 6 months anywhere. Meanwhile, I'd been working here since I was 16, learning every aspect of the business from the ground up. I knew which suppliers were reliable, which customers paid on time, and which routes were most efficient. I'd stayed late countless nights helping Dad with the books, and I'd been the one he called when equipment broke down or when we had a crisis with a major client. But somehow my brother still believed that blood trumped dedication. The door creaked open, and he walked in looking like he'd slept in his funeral suit. His tie was crooked, his hair was a mess, and he had that glazed look that came from too much bourbon and too little sleep. He didn't even acknowledge me as he slumped into the chair across from Dad's desk, checking his phone like he had somewhere more important to be. 20 minutes later, we were sitting in the lawyer's office, and I could see the anticipation in my brother's eyes as the will was read. When it came to the business, the lawyer's words were clear: everything was split 50-50 between us. My brother's satisfied smile told me everything I needed to know about what he was thinking. He probably figured he could strong-arm me into selling him my half, or maybe he thought I'd just step aside and let him run things his way. What he didn't know was that I'd been preparing for this moment for years. Dad had been sick for a long time, and we'd had many conversations about the future of the company. He'd wanted to make sure the business would survive, but he also knew that leaving everything to just one son would destroy our family forever. So we'd worked out a plan that would protect both the company and our relationship, even if my brother never appreciated the thought that went into it. The first surprise came 3 days later when my brother tried to access the business bank accounts.